Now for our story. Tonight, Ben Calvert's big house was silent. Upstairs, the nursery Ben had provided for the baby boy, the child he'd believed to be his grandson, was empty. For only today, Ben had discovered how Kitt had tricked him. Just a few hours ago, the baby had been given to his true mother, Lisa Fenner. But it was more than the absence of the baby's small cries which gave the house its somber atmosphere this evening. In his study, with the blinds drawn against the curious eyes of the townspeople, the room lit dimly by a single lamp, Ben sat brooding, alone. His angry eyes were fixed blankly on the empty fireplace, but his mind was turned inward, thinking of his daughter Kitt, how she had cheated him, lied to him, and made him a fool. His body stiff with the fury of these thoughts, Ben sat in the shadows. Then he roused vaguely, hearing the doorbell ring and voices in the hall. A moment later.
Good evening, Ben.
Oh, it's you, Farnsworth.
I hope I'm not disturbing you.
No, sit down. I've been calling you.
Well, I imagine you'd want to see me. We're due for a post-mortem, aren't we? And by the way, this is certainly the proper place for it. All this gloom.
What do you expect? A celebration?
Well, hardly. Still, there's no point in your sitting here in the dark like this. A little light might help.
Well, turn them on.
Thanks, I will.
Turn them all on if you like.
There, that's a little better. How about a drink, Ben? I think you could use one.
Make one for yourself, Farnsworth. I'm all right.
Well, if you don't mind. This is one day in my career I shouldn't care to relive. I really think you should join me, Ben. No sense taking things so hard.
You can talk like that. It's not your funeral.
Oh, no? I hope you don't think I enjoyed myself this morning. Frankly, Ben, I'm mad. Good and mad.
You don't say.
Perhaps you've been too busy thinking about your own troubles. Think of the position I'm in. I hate to think of what a ribbing I'll take when I get back to the city. I look like the world's prize fathead. Fighting for custody. Finding out the child belongs to someone else entirely.
Never mind. You don't need to remind me. How could she?
Well, you seem to be thinking only of your side of it. I think it's time you remembered mine.
Yours. You lost a case, that's all. But Kitt's made a fool of me. Good Lord, Farnsworth, think of it. My standing in this community. My personal dignity, everything. All gone. And by my own daughter.
She certainly took you down the line, Ben.
Well, don't think for a minute. I'm going to let her get away with it. I'll take care of Kitt, Farnsworth. You can bank on that.
She's in for a lot of trouble, I'm afraid. Judge Willoughby said he intends to cite her for perjury, and he'll do it. Yes, she's in plenty of trouble, Ben.
That's an understatement.
But if you think I'm going to handle the case, you're way off. I wouldn't lift a finger to help your daughter.
She's not my daughter.
I beg your pardon?
She's no daughter of mine. I'm through with her completely.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Ben. I know she's made you look rather silly, but that'll blow over. Actually, when you come right down to it, she's hurt herself more than anybody else.
She's not my daughter. I'm through, I tell you. Enough's enough. I've taken all I'm going to from Kitt.
Aren't you being a trifle melodramatic?
No. It's the last time. I've done my best for that girl ever since she was born. This is my thanks.
Well, it's your affair, of course. Then, after all, you're a father.
Worse luck.
Well, now, you mustn't take that attitude. It's, well, unnatural.
All right. I'm unnatural. But what kind of a daughter is she? When I think of the years I've spent, the time and money to have her pull a stunt like this, deceive me.
Well, most parents usually feel a sense of responsibility for their children's mistakes. After all, a child is a product of his upbringing, Ben. At least to some extent.
You're being insulting, Farnsworth.
I was merely suggesting that... but tell me, I'm curious. What does Kitt have to say about this? What kind of justification does she have?
There couldn't be any. What reason could a girl have for doing what Kitt's done? What possible reason? Why, she's ruined me in this town.
Oh, I wouldn't say it's that bad. You're in pretty solid, I should think. A little gossip for a while.
A little gossip. I can hear 'em right now going a mile a minute. It's what they've always wanted, and now they've got it.
Well, I can see it's no use talking to you now. I'm leaving in the morning, but I'll stop by and give that young woman a few pointers on how to treat a reputable attorney.
What's that?
I said I'll be running along now. I'll talk to Kitt in the morning.
She's not here. She's gone.
Gone?
Yes, and I'm glad. I hope I never see her again or hear of her. I'm going to forget I ever had a daughter.
But where is she? Where'd she go?
I don't know.
You mean she just packed up, cleared out?
My wife looked over her things. She didn't take anything with her.
That's strange. Ben, you don't think she... Well, that is, Kitt wouldn't do anything rash, would she?
I don't give a hang what becomes of her. But wherever she is, I hope she has enough conscience left to be suffering some of the torture for what she's done to me.
And a few hours later, in an auto court on the highway which led south, Kitt Calvert lay across the bed, her face alternately in light and shadow as a neon sign flashed on and off outside the window. On and off. On and off, with a monotonous repetition which matches her thoughts.
This dreary place. The wind. Perhaps I should go on. Oh, what difference does it make where I am? At least I'm out of that house, that town, away from Dad. Dad. I know what he's thinking tonight. But I'm safe now. He'll never find me. I have money. I don't have to go back there, ever. Well, Lisa won after all. And it's Dad's fault. Everything that ever happened to me is his fault. But he'll go on, tearing people apart, taking what he wants. And I'm here. Nobody to turn to. There's no one. Not a single person who cares what happens to me. Why should it be I? Why do I have to pay? It's Dad's doing. Everything. That sign. Why don't they shut it off? It's like water dripping. A window banging. On and off. On and off. How crazy if it doesn't stop. If I could only sleep. Forget. But I can't. I see all their faces. Little Peggy Douglas. Where you've got Bill now, Peggy. And Lisa with the baby. Everyone happy. Everyone but me. Nowhere to go. No one to turn to. And yet, there might be. Just one. Yes. Just one.
Yes, Kitt. Perhaps for the first time in your life, you sense how utterly alone your own selfishness has made you. But I wonder if you've learned that you can't play the game the way you've been playing it and win. Because already in your mind, you found an excuse to justify yourself. Your father. But no matter how he may have failed you, Kitt, a great deal of guilt is still your own. A guilt for which you may yet pay in full. Now for our story. Aunt Mary Lane's household had returned from the courthouse in Huntsville late in the afternoon after witnessing the amazing culmination of Bill Meade's custody suit when Lisa Fenner from the witness stand had claimed as her own the baby Kitt Calvert had taken from her. Shortly after the family arrived home, a summer storm had come up, had descended with a quickly spent fury and then traveled on. The intensity of the storm seemed to symbolize the turbulent period through which they had all just passed, and now after supper the mood of the little farmhouse on Willow Road is quiet, with a calm which comes not with peace, but with physical as well as emotional exhaustion. Peggy Douglas is outside on the front porch with Nicholas Dorn, her fiancé, while Randy Lane sits in the living room listening to his mother at the telephone in the hall.
Yes.
Just a minute. I didn't catch that last. Oh, I see. Yes. Yes, thank you very much. Goodbye. Well, that was good news.
Was it, Mom? I was just thinking if I were the gossipy sort, I wouldn't have gotten much from that conversation.
No, I guess you wouldn't. It was Western Union, Randy. A wire from Chicago, from Del Shipley.
Oh? What'd you have to say?
They're coming down tomorrow.
Swell.
Yes, I'm glad too, Randy. Now that the trial's over and everything's more or less settled.
I wonder if we are settled, Mom. Anyway, it'll be good for you to have Del around for a day or two. Someone for you to talk with who hasn't a bunch of problems.
Well, I don't know about that, Randy. Del has her troubles like anyone else.
Maybe so. But she doesn't toss them all on your lap the way the rest of us do.
Why, Randy, you don't either. And even if you did, you're my family.
Wonder how Bill's feeling tonight. Poor guy. He's certainly been taking an awful beating lately. And then today, getting a shock like that.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't help watching him when Lance Fenner marched up to Jessie. Took the baby in his arms. It made me feel sort of ashamed of myself. As if I'd been eavesdropping. It was so revealing, Mom. The look that went over Bill's face in that instant.
I saw it too, Randy. I knew what must have been in his heart then.
What a world. You know, Mom, when I was overseas, I used to think of home, of Wakefield. It meant everything that's fine and peaceful and good to me. Well, things can go haywire here just as much as anywhere else, I guess.
Well, Randy, wherever there are human beings, there's bound to be unhappiness for someone, I suppose. That is, unless we learn to be considerate of one another, unselfish.
Do you think we ever will learn, Mom, as people?
I think we are learning, Randy. Very slowly, gradually. When you read the papers, even, you can see from what's going on. We're making an effort to understand that this whole world is like a gigantic family now. And we have to learn to get along with one another.
Yeah.
Now look at this situation with Kitt and Bill and Lisa's child. It needn't have happened if Kitt hadn't been thinking of herself, first of all. If she'd looked ahead and thought about how her actions would affect so many other people. And then, if you look deeper, you might say that even Kitt isn't entirely responsible for the person she's become. There's Ben, her father's influence on her.
I'd call it more of a blight than an influence.
Perhaps one might. A person can be changed, distorted, almost crippled spiritually by the wrong environment.
Oh, sure, that's so, Mom. If Bill had never happened to meet Kitt, look how different his whole life might have been. Wonder what'll happen now.
I talked to him for a minute or two afterwards, while you were getting into the car.
How was he taking it?
Well, he was awfully good, but you know how Bill is. I could see he'd been hit pretty hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. Maybe I ought to drive in and see him. Give him a little moral support. What do you think, Mom?
Randy, I asked Bill if he'd like to come out to dinner.
Didn't he want to?
Oh, said he thought he'd go on home. Said he had a lot of thinking to do about the future.
Well, I hate to think of his being there all alone. Well, maybe he's right. He's going to have a lot of adjustments to make.
Yeah, he will.
I'm afraid our little Peggy will, too. Have you any idea how this thing's affecting her, Mom? She was so quiet at dinner.
It's hard to say, Randy. I've wondered about it, too.
Yeah. I only hope...
Yes, Randy?
Well, maybe it sounds disloyal, Mom, but I don't mean it to be. I'm sold on Nicholas. He's a darn nice guy, but... Well, I do hope Peggy doesn't go through with their plans for the wedding out of some false idea that she has to because she gave her word.
I've been concerned about that, too. Yet, she is fond of Nicholas, Randy. Deeply fond of him.
Well, that's just the trouble, Mom. She's fond of him. But you know darn well she's in love with Bill. And now that Bill's free, the child doesn't stand between them. Well, I just hope Peggy doesn't rush into anything. It's not too chilly for you out here, sweet?
No, I'm all right, Nicholas. The air smells so nice and clean after the storm.
Doesn't it, though? You know, I'm in favor of summer storms. They always give the tired, beat-up old world a new lease on life.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of a new lease on life, Peggy...
Yes, Nicholas?
Well, I was thinking we could do with one ourselves. Especially you. You've been going through more than your share of concentrated torture these last weeks.
Don't worry about me, Nicholas. In a way, I think it's been worse for you. Having to sit there and listen while that lawyer made all those insinuations about Bill and me. I'm so awfully sorry you had to, Nicholas.
It's sweet of you, Peggy, but it wasn't your fault.
No. Still, that didn't make it any easier. Anyway, it's all over now, Nicholas. We can go ahead with our plans.
Yes, of course.
I'm going to make up to you for all this unpleasantness. Really, I am. I want you to know that this isn't going to make a bit of difference between us.
Sure. Everything's fine now, darling.
Maybe we can persuade the Jorgensons to let us have that nice little place we looked at before. We'll fix it up just the way we said. Remember that little brook winding around at the foot of the hill where you said we could have picnics and things?
Yes, I remember.
And yellow curtains in the kitchen, a flower garden. It'll be beautiful, Nick. You'll be so happy.
Yeah? I'll be happy, Peggy. What about you?
Well, of course I'll be. That's understood.
Is it? Are you sure?
Why, of course, Nick. Why do you ask?
No reason, darling. Look, I think you're awfully tired, and I know I am. I guess I'd better take my weary bones home.
Well, it's still quite early.
No, I think I'll shove off. Let's go in for a moment, huh? I'd like to say goodnight to Randy and Aunt Mary.
All right, Nick. If you really want to go.
Randy said you're in the kitchen, Aunt Mary. Mind if I interrupt you for a moment?
Well, of course not, Nicholas. We're just going to make a pot of coffee. You'll have some with us, won't you?
Thanks, but I think not. I'm on my way.
What? So early?
Well, I'm rather tired, and Peggy ought to get some rest.
Oh, perhaps you're right. It's been a trying day for all of us.
I should say it has. Aunt Mary.
Yes?
You weren't by any chance planning to be in town tomorrow, were you?
Why, yes, I have some errands to do.
Good. I was wondering if we might have a little talk together. Just the two of us.
Of course we can. But what's this about, Nicholas?
Well, I'd rather not say now, Aunt Mary. But I'll look forward to hearing from you at the hotel. Just give me a jingle when you have time to see me. I'll be waiting.
All right, Nicholas. I'll do that.
The young man said goodnight and left a few minutes later. Aunt Mary looked thoughtful as she heard his car driving away. He left so abruptly, acted rather strained, and his request that she stop and see him, alone. Could it be something about Peggy, Aunt Mary asked herself? Now for our story. This morning, in his room at the Brown Palace Hotel in Wakefield, Nicholas Dorn sat by the window which faced the square. From where he sat, Nicholas could look across to Ben Calvert's real estate and loan office. And on the other side, a corner of David Bowman's bank was visible. Then there was the building in which Angus McKillop, Bill Meade's attorney, had his office. Landmarks. The people whose lives had indirectly affected his own. But Nicholas was not looking out of the window. He held an early edition of a Chicago paper in his hand, and now for the 10th time he reread an item there.
The custody suit of ex-Sergeant Bill Meade and his divorced wife, Kitt Calvert, daughter of a prominent Wakefield businessman, came to a sensational conclusion yesterday with the revelations the child in question had been taken from Lisa Fenner, the well-known Fenner dancing team shortly after the child's birth in California. Miss Peggy Douglas, whose testimony was... Oh, what's the matter with me? I've read this thing over till I know it by heart. Besides, what difference does it make, actually? I know that... Hello?
Good morning, Nicholas.
Oh, Aunt Mary, are you...
I'm downstairs in the lobby.
Righto. I'll be right down, Aunt Mary. Swell of you to come by.
Why, Nicholas? You said you wanted to see me.
Yeah. You, seen the out-of-town papers yet?
No, but I can imagine only too well what they're saying.
Yes, they'd be bound to pick up an item like that. How's Peggy?
All right, Nicholas.
You didn't tell her you were coming to see me, did you?
No.
Good. You know, this trial, all the ramifications. If you tried to sell a story like that to a Hollywood producer, he'd say you were crazy, too far-fetched. And yet you come to a nice, quiet little town like Wakefield. And...
I know. It does seem too bad that things like that can happen. But it's as Randy and I were saying the other night. If people are selfish, inconsiderate of others, well...
Yeah. I've been thinking about Bill, wondering how he's taking it. You seen him yet, Aunt Mary?
I talked to him for a minute or two yesterday, just afterward.
It must have been an awful shock to the guy.
Yes, indeed it was. But of course, he's glad the baby's going to be with its own mother and father.
You know, Aunt Mary, I like Bill. Got a lot of respect for him.
Yes, I know you have, Nicholas. During these past months, I've admired both you and Bill, your attitude toward each other.
Well, I'll admit there have been times these last few months when I wished you'd take a long trip or something, but... well, I don't feel that way anymore. Now I sincerely wish him all the best.
I'm sure you do.
Somehow, I have a hunch things are going to look up for him from now on. I mean, his personal life.
Well, Nicholas, I don't know about that. It's hard to say what will happen. There's so many factors to be considered.
I've been thinking about that, too. Thinking about Peggy.
Oh, by the way, Nicholas, Peggy said something about having dinner with you tonight.
She did?
Weren't you expecting to?
Well, you see, Aunt Mary, I won't be here.
Oh?
I'm leaving tonight. On a scram. Checking out. That's why I asked you to stop by. I wanted to explain.
I see.
Somehow, I think you know why. And I imagine you're not absolutely flabbergasted either.
Well, Nicholas, I suppose in a way I saw this coming.
Yes, I felt that you did. But I did want to explain how I feel just the same. I haven't forgotten the talk we had months ago when Peggy and I... well, when it first began to dawn on me that I was in love with her. You tried to warn me then, Aunt Mary. You suggested that I might be getting beyond my depth, but... know-it-all doing, I went plunging right ahead. Now I realize what a mistake it was. So that's why I decided to go back to Hollywood.
You haven't mentioned this to Peggy?
No. No, I haven't. She's tried so hard to be loyal to her promise to me. I'm not going to let her do it. Now that Bill's free.
But, Nicholas, the most important thing is you and Peggy. How you two feel toward each other.
I agree with you. And I believe I understand how Peggy feels. How she's felt all along. This baby, when Peggy thought it was Bill's child, it had a tremendous effect on Peggy psychologically. I know that otherwise she never would have considered marrying me. It wasn't just the fact that the child was Kitt's, or rather that we all thought it was.
No, but...
Look, the way I dope it out, Peggy was thinking ahead. Thinking of all the possible pitfalls which she and Bill might have fallen into if they'd married. Whether the child had been awarded to Bill or to Kitt. All of them in one little town. The Calverts influencing a child. You know what they'd do, teach him to resent Peggy. She told me once she felt that might eventually be responsible for a rift between Bill and his son.
It's true that Peggy would have been in a very difficult position. And Kitt has always tried to...
Yeah, I know Kitt. Can't say I blame Peggy for wanting to avoid any connection with her. I'm a little afraid of her myself. In any event, Aunt Mary, that's the way I see it. The background, I mean. Now, the whole picture's changed. The baby isn't an issue. Bill's free. There's nothing to stand between those two. Except me. And in another couple of hours, I'll be chugging along on the train back to where I belong.
Well, Nicholas, as to where you belong, that's something we must all decide for ourselves. But it seems to me you fit into our lives here very easily. I've always thought
Perhaps under different circumstances I might have stayed. But I'm not the stuff of which martyrs are made, Aunt Mary. I'm leaving partly for selfish reasons, you see.
Selfish reasons?
Yes. I haven't the slightest desire to suffer in this world any more than necessary. If Peggy and I went ahead with our wedding plans now, I'm very much afraid we'd both be unhappy. She'd be trying not to show it, of course. And I'd be trying not to show that I knew she was unhappy. And it would be another vicious circle. And that's no good.
No, it certainly isn't.
This way, I'll do a quick disappearing act. She and Bill will make fine music together, and that will be that.
Perhaps, Nicholas. One can't be absolutely sure where human emotions are concerned.
Well, I hope she'll be happy. I hope so terribly. And you watch. For once in my life, I think I'm doing the best thing for all concerned. Aunt Mary, I've written her this letter explaining how I feel as best I can. Will you give it to her for me? And if it doesn't make my position clear, will you try to tell her how I feel? Please?
Yes, of course I will, Nicholas.
And I want to tell you this, Aunt Mary. I don't regret one instant of this experience. Not one. Meeting all of you, Lefty and Randy and Bill, all of you wonderful people. It's really given me a new perspective.
You aren't glad, Nicholas. You know we're all fond of you, don't you?
Yes, I think you are.
Oh, Nicholas, I'm so sorry about this.
Why? I haven't any regrets.
Nevertheless, I know you love Peggy. But, Nicholas, you'll find the complete thing someday. Your real happiness.
Well, I don't know about that, Aunt Mary. But at least I know what the possibilities are now. When I came here, I had a lot of half-baked, cynical ideas about love. I was afraid of it. And the joke was, I didn't even know what the word meant. I do now. Thanks to your lovely little niece. It's a lesson I'll never forget.
And so Nicholas Dorn had made his decision. But I wonder if Bill and Peggy, shattered as they both are by the experiences they have gone through in recent months, will be able to find their way back to the carefree, joyous relationship they once had.